To Chatapalooza 2012. My name is Alex and I'm a 14, which means I'm a sophomore here at Dartmouth. And I'm joined by Monica.
I'm Monica. I'm a 15, which means I'm a freshman. I'm from Southern California.
So we're going to start by telling a little bit about ourselves. The point of this first chat is to welcome you to Chatapalooza. It's a series of all-day chats, community-based chats that we're going to be hosting for admitted students and families. But we're going to start by introducing ourselves. We encourage you to post questions on the chat, anything you want to ask us for this first welcoming chat. So just to start, my name is Alex. Again, I'm a 14, so I'm a sophomore. I'm from Suffield, Connecticut, which is a small town at the north of Connecticut. It's about 2 hours drive from here. On campus, I'm a government major and an economics minor, and I'm also very involved in admissions. I'm an intern here as well as a tour guide. I'm also involved in Student Assembly, which is our student governing organization on campus, and I'm the treasurer of that organization. Finally, I'm involved in Money Smart, which is a volunteer group on campus that focuses on providing financial literacy to groups in the Upper Valley, New Hampshire, and Vermont region. You want to tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, so again, I'm Monica. I'm a 15, which means I'm a freshman. I'm from Southern California, about an hour south of Los Angeles. I'm involved in the Native Americans at Dartmouth here on campus, as well as dance group, and I play club lacrosse here too.
Excellent, excellent. So we're just starting spring term right now. So what course are you taking?
I'm taking French, Spanish, and American Indian history.
Excellent, wow.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm taking microeconomics. I'm taking 2 government courses as well. Government, I'm taking polling in the politics and business, which is going to be really, really interesting. We're actually going to be doing our own poll this next week for the state of New Hampshire, which is going to be really interesting. So I'm ready to enjoy that.
Cool.
But spring term is coming up, and this is Monica's first spring term.
Yeah.
So what are you excited about for the spring?
I'm excited for the warm weather, and the grass is just getting green and everything from the thawed out snow,
Yeah.
so I'm really excited for that. It'll be really pretty in the
That'll
spring.
be fun.
Yeah.
We actually have a big weekend each spring. So it's where we have some major event, and this spring it's going to be Green Key. And Green Key is where we have a big concert. We have a lot of outdoor activities, so it should be a lot of fun, and we're really, really excited for that. And how did you enjoy Winter Carnival, which is our big winter event?
Yeah, Winter Carnival was really fun. I was a little bit disappointed because the snow was very minimal this year, so a lot of the events were canceled, but it overall was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And what was the theme of this year?
This year was Candyland, and so we had an ice sculpture in the middle of the green, and it was
a cupcake, right?
Yeah.
So it was a cupcake made of snow.
Yeah.
And because we had such minimal snow, they actually had to bring in snow from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So we could build that. But every year, kind of the tradition with Winter Carnival is that we make a large snow sculpture. The year before, we made a massive snow castle or snow sculpture, and that was really, really cool. A lot of students get involved to help out. You'll see kids on their way to class, they'll grab a bucket and they'll throw snow to help with the effort, which is a lot of fun. A couple other activities that I really enjoy during Winter Carnival is human dog sled races, which are really, really funny. It's when you have 2 students in the front and 1 student sitting on a sled, and you race across the green. So we do a lot of fun outdoor activities during Winter Carnival, which is really, really enjoyable.
Yeah.
So just a reminder again, feel free to post any questions that you have on the chat. We want to hear what you have to say and what you're wondering about for your admission to Dartmouth. So this Thursday when 16s got in, we were so excited. We're so excited to have a new class coming in. And what you want to tell us about your experience when you got accepted? Were you early decision or are you regular?
I was early decision when I applied to Dartmouth, and I got in, and I was very, very excited. It was only a year ago. It's kind of weird that there's a new class coming in because the experience was so new for me. But it was very, very exciting.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, so yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I remember I actually was regular decision, and finding out I got into Dartmouth, I was so excited to come up here and visit again and just kind of experience the school more. And this is a great chance. I unfortunately was local, but this is a chance for anyone who's from farther away, like you, California, to really ask us and get kind of a better perspective of Dartmouth. Another reminder for you, we encourage you to check out the Facebook group. We have a Facebook group just for Dartmouth class of 2016, and you can go and search that on Facebook, and you can request to be added. And it'll just take a couple days for us to verify that you're a member of the class, and we will admit you into that group. But it's a lot of fun. You can talk with your soon-to-be classmates, and you can see if other people are from your area. Did you ever have a meetup with other students before coming here?
Yeah, we did I saw a lot of other groups like schedule meetups in New York and Massachusetts. So I decided to, do some in Southern California. We went to an amusement park. Another time we went and got lunch. It was a lot of fun. So it was all via the Facebook group. So
that's really cool. Yeah, so the Facebook group brings people together, which is a lot of fun. In other means, we also have our Dartmouth Direct page. Dartmouth Direct is our kind of student production group, and for admissions, where we put together a lot of blog material and a lot of student information. So you can kind of see that from a student perspective, which is really cool. So we have our first question from Monica, or from Mar94, asking Monica, how was your first term at Dartmouth, and how was it considering the fact that you would be so far away from home?
My first term at Dartmouth was a bit of an adjustment for a little bit, just because I was far away from home from my mom. But it wasn't too horrible because luckily I did find a good group on campus that was really supportive. So it was, it was a good way to adjust to kind of have someone to kind of like lean on and stuff. But I think overall it wasn't that hard. I know a lot of other people who were from further away and they were able to adjust fairly well. It does take a couple weeks, but you get the hang of it. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you have a lot of people to rely on and lean back on. I know when I started, I had so many people. We have a few different groups that you kind of fall into, and you get to know a lot of people. One is your freshman floor mates, which is a lot of fun. You're placed into a residential cluster, and all 5 of the residential clusters for first-year students are either entirely first-year students or they're mostly first-year students. And there are so many programs that the college provides to get to know those students really well, which is a lot of fun. BFAB is one of my favorites. It's when our UGAs, which are similar to RAs, residential advisors at other colleges, they get up really early on a Saturday morning and they actually cook you a huge breakfast, like eggs, pancakes, waffles, bacon, sausage, all those things. And then just for $1, you get all you can eat, and you kind of have breakfast with all of your residential classmates, which is really, really cool. It's a lot of fun to have that. And my other favorite program they have is SIPs, which is Student Initiated Programmings, I think something like that. But it's basically a service where you can actually go and get funding from the college to do an event with your residential cluster. So I know for us, we actually went and bought a huge amount of food and made a large dinner, it was pasta and garlic bread dinner, just to bring everyone together. So you always have your floor mates to rely on, which is a really, really great thing.
Yeah.
So we have another question from N. Hartman 10. I know Greek life is a large part of the social scene at Dartmouth. If I'm not interested in that, might Dartmouth not be the place for me? So this is, I think, a great question for you to start out as a 15. How have you felt, as a freshman, with the Greek life at Dartmouth?
It is, fairly present because it is a small college, but there are a lot of other events and activities that people can do on the weekends and things like that if they want to avoid the Greek scene. It's not very difficult at all to kind of, do your own thing on the weekends. There are a lot of movies that they play at the Hopkins Center for the Arts on campus. There are a lot of other kind of dance parties that don't have alcohol and other things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing about our Greek system that's very inclusive, we have a number. We have, I think it's 9 sororities and 11 fraternities, and we also have a very strict open door policy, meaning that every kind of event held at a fraternity or sorority is open door. There's no guest list. There's no waiting outside. Everybody gets in, which is really nice and really inclusive. And you're not permitted to join these groups until your sophomore year. So it's nice your freshman year to go around and kind of experience a bunch of different ones. I remember my first year just going and trying out and sampling a few, seeing if they're right for you or not at all. But it's nice to kind of have that openness and to kind of have that experience, which is really, really great.
Yeah.
What are some of the other programming events you've been to on campus?
There are occasionally some concerts that people will hold, and there are also a lot of performing arts shows.
Yeah.
We have a very large a cappella scene at Dartmouth, and so sometimes they'll have shows a lot. Also the dance groups, we have Ujima and Shiva, which are 2 of the biggest dance groups on campus. They have a lot of shows as well. So a lot of performing arts you see here. Yeah,
and those are a lot of fun to go to. I also love Dartmouth Idol, which is so much fun. It's where all the singers from Dartmouth compete for the title of Dartmouth Idol, just like American Idol. And it was so much fun. I was away this winter studying abroad, but last winter I had the most amazing time going to this, seeing my peers compete. And the best part was during the intermission. or during the halftime show, I guess, of Dartmouth Idol, President Kim actually performed a dance and song number, which is really, really funny to see the president of our college doing that. So we actually really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And that was really cool to go to. Another one of my favorite events is Friday Night Rock, which is where we bring in rock artists from across the country, and they come to Fuel, which is our venue inside college, which is our student center, and it was a lot of fun to go to those and to kind of see all these different rock artists. So a lot of great program events here on campus. So we have another question from Danny18, and they're wondering, how does the D plan work exactly? So that's a great question. The D plan is very, very unique to Dartmouth, and it's something that I think sets us apart and gives us a lot of other opportunities. So I'll quickly run through it with you. So essentially, it works the same way as the seasons. We have a quarter system where you have fall, winter, spring, and summer. You're basically required to be here for your fall, winter, and spring of your freshman and your senior year. You're also required to be here for the halfway point, and that halfway point is sophomore summer. So a lot of kids, I say this on tours all the time, a lot of kids look at me like, we have to go to school in the summer? What does that mean? Now, what have you heard about sophomore summer?
I know a lot of upperclassmen who use sophomore summer to get rid of their distributive requirements, so it's a bit of an easier term for them. I hear it's kind of like Camp Dartmouth, I guess, because it is in the summer and there are a lot of activities that you can do outdoors, and it's a bit, more relaxed, and so a lot of people hang out a lot, and it's a really good way for the for that sophomore class to kind of get together and like bond more, since they are the majority on campus.
Yeah. For me, it's coming up just next term, and I'm really, really excited. Mainly for the reason that Monica was saying, that it's just a sophomore class, so we really get to bond and get to know each other, and it's just a kind of term that's really, really great. A lot of students look back on it really fondly, remembering it. And the other great thing as well is that you can go and live in Hanover in New Hampshire in the summer, which is like one of the most beautiful times weather-wise here, which is really great. So going on for the rest of the D plan, so besides having those required terms your freshman year and your senior year and your sophomore summer, the rest of it's up to you. You kind of decide, with the number of courses you're going to study, that's, you have a certain number of required terms. It's basically 3 terms per year you have to study. But you have to figure out, what do you want to do and how do you want to arrange them? Do you want to do a leave term where you go to Africa to do research? Do you want to do a term where you go study abroad in Europe or Australia? Do you want to do a term where you go to New York or Boston and do an internship? There's so many different options. And the really great thing about that is it's so flexible. Personally, I'm actually going to be able to study abroad twice. This past winter, I was in Barcelona studying abroad. I studied finance as well as architecture. So I had 2 very different courses, but really interesting courses that I was studying there, and kind of immersing myself in the European culture, which was a lot of fun. There also was, I'm also going to have the opportunity to be in London next fall for my junior year, studying government at the London School of Economics. So, having the opportunity to study abroad twice is really great, and that's, that's available because we have those 10-week terms, which is really, really nice. Some of my other friends, one of my friends just last term was working at a clinic in Africa, and she was actually, firsthand working with patients, working with doctors, and getting a really great experience because she's a pre-med student, which is really, really amazing to have. I have friends that are doing internships across the country, across the globe, and really, really enjoying it. So the D plan I really, really like, because there's so much flexibility and there's giving you so many opportunities that you can take advantage of that. I think at other schools, it's harder to arrange it so you can take advantage of those things.
Definitely.
Okay, so we have another question from Jimmy. Could you elaborate on the foreign language program at Dartmouth? Great question.
Okay.
Well, you want to start with the requirement?
Well, I'm taking 2 foreign language classes right now. The requirement is
you're supposed to be proficient in 1 language by the time you graduate.
Yeah, and so you can. Sometimes people can get exempt from that requirement based on AP testing if you take foreign language in high school. I did with Spanish, but I decided to continue. I'm planning to do Romance language major, so I'm gonna keep doing that. But you, so as Alex said, you have to be proficient in a second language. And so if you don't get exempt from that, then you can take any language you want. We have French, Arabic, Chinese,
German, Italian. I could
Portuguese.
I could go on and on and on. And they'll find a professor, they'll find a tutor if you want to study an even more specific language, which is really cool.
And definitely. And so for the introduction courses, is it the first 3 courses? Yeah. So the first 3 terms that you do of that foreign language, you have this thing called drill, And that's a really good way for you to really practice your speaking and listening skills in that language. It really, kind of gets you involved, like into that language.
Exactly.
So drill is kind of like the smaller groups from your class, and you get together with a drill instructor who's usually another student who's taken the class before. And so they will kind of like snap at you and go like, okay, conjugate this verb very quickly. And so it makes you really think and speak in that language very, very quickly. And it, kind of makes it very like second nature to you.
Yeah, it really becomes instinctive. It's amazing. You'll be writing something or you'll be speaking, and you'll realize that these verb conjugations you don't necessarily need to think about because they've just become ingrained because you do this drill practice every single morning, and it really helps with the speaking component. I think that was my favorite part. I personally took Arabic last year. I had taken French in high school, and I was able to place out of most of French, but I decided to go through this Rossius method, is what we call it. Professor John Rossius was designed this program years ago, and it's been so successful since. Having this listening and repeating drill function in the morning, and having the class afterwards that's for focusing on written and kind of grammatical functions of the language is really, really important. I mean, I was amazed coming off of 3 terms and a year of studying Arabic that I could give like a 15-minute oral presentation, and that I could have a casual conversation in such a foreign language. So I think it's a really, really incredible program. I know traveling around Europe this last winter, my friends that had taken Spanish or French or German were just able to after just a few terms of taking that language talk and order in the restaurant or do basic functions, which is really, really cool to have that. So it's a very successful language program and really enjoyable. The other great thing is the opportunity to study abroad with our foreign language departments. So you actually have programs that are sponsored by each department to go abroad and study languages in a foreign country. French, for example, has a program in Toulouse. They have a program in Paris as well as a program in Lyon. So there's like 3 different cities in Paris or in France that you can choose from, which is really, really fun to go there to speak the language and really get fully immersed. And have you been thinking of any of them, like programs for Spanish or French?
I'm actually going to study in Lyon next winter with the language study abroad program. There are also FSP, so that's an LSA. There's an FSP, which is foreign study program, which I'm also going to be doing, hopefully, in Madrid for Spanish, my junior year of fall.
Great.
There are a lot of opportunities to study abroad, both for language and for not. So it's
excellent. Excellent. So we have another question from Stephanie77. She's wondering, for students who can't go home for every small break, what other options are there? So that's a great question for someone that's from farther away.
I know a lot of my friends stayed here during what we call interim, so in between the 2 terms. You can get interim housing in your dorm and just kind of stay here. I'm not too sure about the activities that go on here. I just know that there usually are like a pretty big number of students who stay on, and so it's not like very lonely or anything, because you do have other people that you can hang out with and do things with. Yeah,
and professors especially reach out. This last Thanksgiving, we used to have it that we have exams right after Thanksgiving. So if you're from far away, it just doesn't make sense always to fly all the way home for Thanksgiving. So the professors and the students are incredible. My economics professor last term asked about 5 times during class if anybody was going to be here in Hanover over the break, because she wanted them to come for Thanksgiving dinner. And she kept asking over and over. She says, well, if you already have plans, come for leftovers the next day. And it was just so nice. But that's actually not even an issue anymore, because we've changed our academic calendar so that we actually finish. We start a little bit early in September, and we finish our fall term right before Thanksgiving. So when you go home for Thanksgiving break, you go home for all of December, which is really a great opportunity, because you actually can go and do things with that month off. I know I did a career shadow last year. I was able to shadow the vice president of Lego, and they actually have their corporation right near where I live, and he's a Dartmouth alum, and he was there, and he showed me what he does, and I was able to follow him around and kind of see what the job is like. So having that month off is actually a really nice time to do different things and short little internships or research.
Yeah, fun. And I might be going to Nicaragua next fall after, like right before Christmas, in between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Awesome.
Yeah,
what'd you be doing there?
Well, it's funded through the Tucker Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization on campus. And so we'll if I get into the program, we'd go there and kind of help with community development and medical things there too. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun.
See, yeah.
And Joe was actually kind of tied into that, asking what are research and internship opportunities, and are they widely available on or off campus, which is a really great question. First, we'll start with research. So professors are extremely approachable for research opportunities. They actually market their opportunities often. I started a class last spring, and before the professor said anything, like any introduction, she goes, "Oh, before I get started, does anybody know French or German? Because I really need a research assistant for this project that I'm working on," which was so funny to kind of reach out for like that. And a lot of times you can go up to a professor and say, "Hey, I'm looking to do research in this department. Do you have any openings?" And she says, "Oh, well, my project I'm working on currently is full, but I know my colleague over here, is looking for a few students, so let me get you connected," which is really great. And besides that, we have an entire undergraduate network for research opportunities. We also have an amazing program for first-year females called WISP, which is Women in Science Project. So WISP is a program for first-year females to actually go off and be connected with a professor or a different department, whether in Dartmouth Medical School or any of the departments in the college, and they can go and actually do firsthand research and paid internship, which is paid research, which is really amazing.
Yeah, I know a few girls who are on my freshman floor who got some internships through that, and it was not very difficult to apply or get those internships either. So.
It's a really great opportunity, to be paid and to be connected with a research opportunity, just in that way during your freshman year is really great.
Definitely.
So the next thing we'll talk about is internships, the second part of the question. And internships are extremely easy to kind of get connected with and find as well. Career Services is a very active department on campus. They actually have an entire online database of internship opportunities that you can go and kind of browse through, whether by location or by topic, so you can see what opportunities are available for you. They also are very helpful in connecting with you with alumni. As I mentioned before, I was able to do a career shadow with an alum, which is really a nice opportunity to have that and to be connected with that instead of kind of going off and looking for it yourself. I was also able to be connected for an internship, which I did last summer with Northwestern Mutual Insurance Company in Springfield, Massachusetts, which is right near me. So they're really helpful and proactive in helping you in every step of the way. You can go in, they have open office hours, and you can bring your resume, and they'll just go through and they'll help you kind of can you revise it and make it look better. And they'll kind of have all these different programs to help orient you for the career world, which is an amazing opportunity to have as well.
And there are also other opportunities to do kind of more volunteer service type internships or community service type internships with the Tucker Foundation, like I mentioned before. They're a nonprofit, and they, if you apply and you get accepted, they'll fund an internship for you over the summer or any 10-week term that you take off. They usually will pay you about $4,000 for the 10 weeks that you do community service for, and so it's really great because you get paid for things that you normally wouldn't get paid for. And I'm planning to do that this summer. I'm going home and doing community service, and I'll get funded through the Tucker Foundation as well.
That's awesome. Excellent. So we also have another question from Danny18, and he or she is wondering, how does residential life and meal plans work? Great question. So I guess we'll start with residential life first. So I was mentioning that a little bit before. There are 5 residential clusters for first-year students. So they're either entirely first-year students or they're mostly first-year students. So I lived in Russell Sage, and I believe you lived in Russell Sage too, right? And Russell Sage is one of the clusters on campus. So we have it's about 4 or 5 different dorms that are located there, and it's a great kind of residential experience, all first years, and kind of there's so many programs that you get to know each other. We have UGAs, which are undergraduate advisors. They're upperclassmen students who are there any time of the day, just knocking their doors, like, what should I do if I'm really sick and I can't finish my paper? How do I approach my professor? What do I do? I'm having trouble studying for this test. I'm homesick. I'm having this problem with my friend. Anything like that, and it's really helpful to go and approach your undergraduate advisors, and they're always there to talk. I know I talk to mine all the time about being a government major because it's something I was considering, and she was a government major, and she was telling me all the different ins and outs of the department and what I should know and all the things that were helpful. What has your been experience so far with residential life and life on campus? Is your dormitory nice?
Yeah, so I live in a really nice dorm. My UGA has always been very supportive and very proactive about reaching out to all of my, me and also all of my other floor mates. A lot of times our UGAs will blitz out, and blitz is kind of our email system. So they'll send us messages saying, oh, well, this research opportunity is available, or come to BFAB, Breakfast for a Buck, this weekend, or come, support this floor mate in his or her a cappella show, or, and they're very proactive about helping you with school or social things, like social things. We freshman year, having floor meetings is pretty big, I guess, and so floor meetings have different topics, and the UGAs will like kind of drive the discussion, and sometimes they'll talk about, like, how's your week going, what's your highs and lows, whatever, or they'll talk about well, this LSA and FSP program is going to be available. Make sure you apply. So they kind of, let you know of opportunities that are becoming available. So it's really nice. They're very supportive in kind of any aspect of life on campus.
Awesome. And then the next component of that question was the meal program and the dining program here on campus. So we have a really nice meal program. We have a beautiful brand new dining facility that was just completed this fall. It's called the 1953 Commons. And it is this massive facility. It's an all-you-can-eat facility, so you have a meal swipe that you'll use for that venue, and you'll go inside, and there are just so many options. There's like vegetarian, there's a whole vegetarian area, there's a whole halal section, there's a home plate section, which is nice, kind of like home-cooked meals. There's a grill section, there's a huge salad bar, there's a pizza oven, there's a bakery. I mean, there's so many options. I came back here from studying abroad where I was cooking for myself, and it was just like, so much food. It's so nice to have that. So it's a really, really nice venue to eat at. In addition to that, we have 4 other dining facilities located across campus, a mixture of cafes as well as dining halls. And those are a la carte options, so whatever you buy, you kind of pay for with a declining debit system. So our meal card works like this. We either have you'll get like a 20 meals, all you can eat, and some dining dollars, as we call them, or you'll get maybe 14 or maybe 5. I personally have the 5, so I go to the all-you-can-eat venue 5 times a week, and then I go to other venues the rest of the time. So
I have the 5 as well. I really like it. It's very flexible. So.
Yeah, very, very flexible. And it's nice, too, our dining facilities are scattered across campus, so you never have to worry about that, which is really, really quite cool. And the other nice thing is that if you have any kind of dietary restrictions, whether vegan or vegetarian or lactose intolerant, there's actually a nutritionist that Dartmouth Dining Services has, and they have them on staff, and you just go and can speak to the nutritionist and go over any kind of restrictions that you have, whether it's gluten-free or anything like that, and they'll be able to accommodate you, which is really pretty incredible, so it's awesome for having that. So we are reaching the end of the show, and we're ready to move on to our next segment of Chatapalooza. But we want to thank you for joining us. We only have about a 10-minute break between the next show, so feel free to stay tuned for the next one. And same system, we'll have community-based chats, but we welcome you to ask questions to our hosts and to join in on that. But we want to thank you for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, and congratulations for being accepted.
Congrats on being accepted.